Jai Gurudev. Today we will continue reading My Life, Its Legacy and Message by Pandit Sriram Sharma Acharya. Chapter 9 Mind of a Brahmana, Actions of a Rishi. As soon as attributes of a Brahmana awaken in the inner self of an individual, saintliness is effortlessly expressed in his actions. A Brahmana means a person who possesses the moral strength to overcome allurements and greed. He resists temptations and is happily contented in leading the life of an average citizen. I received guidance from Gurudev in the early days of my life how to cultivate these attributes of a Brahmana. Thus, I was truly reborn as a Brahmana. My physical birth from Brahmana parents was of no significance. I might have assumed and shed human bodies carrying an animal-like soul during many lives in the past. I have no recollection of how many times during this immortal and eternal journey I had led sinful animal-like lives, heavy laden with sin and consequent suffering. But I feel blessed and blissful with the achievements of this life, which can be truly called of a Brahmana. It is in this very birth that I have had the rare opportunity and joy of transforming myself into a divinized man in an animal body. A Brahmana has a huge fund of surplus energy at his disposal, as he spends only a small fraction of it to satisfy his personal and family needs. Elephants, camels, buffaloes have big stomachs. One can understand why they spend so much time in filling up their stomachs. A man with two dexterous and skillful hands, a mind capable of finding out thousands of ways and means to earn necessary resources and cooperation of family and friends, should be able to earn his livelihood easily. Man has a very small stomach. Even peacocks, pigeons, earn enough to meet their daily needs. There is thus no problem, as such, for man to earn his livelihood. It can be done within a few hours, leaving many spare hours for altruistic efforts. Persons in whom saintliness awakens think only as to how best and where to utilize their spare time, labor, resources, and talents. It does not need much time to find a reply to these questions. The lives of illumined personalities provide us the demonstrations in this respect. One is free to accept any of these divinized personages as his role model. Only demons have unrestrained and insatiable cravings and desires. It is they who plan to amass unlimited wealth and resources and to enjoy them without restraint. But none, right from Hiranyakashipu and Shikandar, was able to fulfill such a desire. Divine Man, Dev Manav, emerges at the meeting point between the soul and God. He has several other names, like a great man, a saint, a reformer, a martyr, etc. In ancient days, such persons were known as rishis, whose needs were the minimum and who applied the savings of their resources, money, etc. in tasks which were essential to fulfill the needs of the time spirit. They helped in enhancing righteous tendencies. They did not allow the evil designs of those who were bent upon causing destruction to succeed. Rishis mobilized all their efforts directly or indirectly in this direction. They did immense work by moving ahead in positive pursuits, step by step, and by accumulating a reservoir of excellence, drop by drop. I fail to appreciate that devotion, bhakti, in which there is emotional effervescence, without any moral restraint. I found the rishi path of life worth emulation, and tried to mobilize all my time and resources in the revival of these traditions. Those engaged in constant, single-pointed effort are able to amass huge wealth through small earnings over a time. A bird collects straws one by one and prepares a beautiful nest. It was my good fortune that I got an opportunity to revive Rishi traditions, and it has shown me good results. Different rishis had undertaken different assignments in the ancient times, and had accomplished them satisfactorily. They had sufficient leisure and opportunities to do so, but in these days of emergency, several things are to be done simultaneously with great speed. If a house is on fire, the work of rescuing children and valuable goods has to be done at the same time. I am facing a similar situation, and different tasks which different rishis had entrusted to me were to be accomplished simultaneously. I have received inspiration, guidance, and help from my great Gurudev, and I have done whatever I was required to do with utmost willingness. The ancient story of Sri Krishna acting as charioteer and Arjun handling the Gandiva bow seems to have been repeated in my case. A momentous task like transforming of an epoch is accomplished by the will, plan, and power of God, but the credit for it is given to a liberated Rishikalpa soul. This alone is the best reward for their sadhana, their competence. I also get the opportunity of getting this credit, and I feel blessed and fulfilled, as I am able to clearly foresee, even at this moment, the events that are to happen in the distant future. I have no hesitation in making this statement. None of the ancient rishis have their physical bodies now, although their individual consciousness still persists in appropriate planes of manifestation. I was introduced to all of them and was asked to follow in their footprints, establish an ashram at Shantikunj, Haridwar, as a symbol of Devatma Himalaya, and execute the program of revival of Rishi traditions in such a way that the transition to the new era may be as smooth as possible. Rishis, great men with awakened souls, who had once lived physically in the Himalayas, and about whom Gurudev had referred in my third pilgrimage to the Himalayas, where Bhagirath, Gangotri, Parashuram, Yamunotri, Charak, Kedarnath, Vyas, Kashi, Adyashankaracharya, Jyotirmath, Jamdagni, Uttarakashi, Vashishta, Devprayag, Pipalada, Sutshunik, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shanstruguna, Rishikesh, and Daksha Prajapati, Kannada. Saptarishis include Vishwamitra, Haridwar. I was given glimpses of the lives and works of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sant Gayaneshwara, and Tulsidas, and was directed to spread the Parivijarak Dharmakakra reawakening movement of Bhagavan Buddha throughout the world in the light of present circumstances through the medium of music, Sankirtan, and discourses of Pragya Purana, and thus enable Pragya Avatar to fulfill the latter half of the mission of Buddha Avatar. Gurudev had already given a hint during my pilgrimage to the Himalayas that just as gymnasiums, Mahavir temples were not established by me. In one of my earlier births as Samartha Ramdas, I have to give them new forms as Pragya Sanstans, Pragya Pitas, Charana Pitas, Gyan Mandirs, Swadhyaya Mandals, etc. The direction of transforming Shantikunj as a symbolic representative of Devatma Himalaya was not an easy task. It needed labor, money, and cooperation of the colleagues. The souls of rishis residing in the Himalayas in astral bodies had to be summoned, invoked, and installed here. Temples of various gods have been built at various places, but living installation of the souls of all the rishis at one place cannot be found elsewhere. It is still more important to know that not only mere idols of rishis have been installed here for symbolic worship, but anyone sufficiently purified and fine-tuned can feel the strong vibrations of their particular energies. Thus, Shantikunj and Brahmavarchas represent the energies of all rishis. To commemorate his victory over Lanka and establish Ram Rajya, Bhagavan Ram had built the temple of Rameshwaram and installed the idol of Shiva. It is my good fortune that I had got an opportunity to build a temple and install the living soul of Devatma Himalaya in Shantikunj as a living symbol of my single-pointed pursuit, Param Purushartha, towards the ushering in of the new era. The grand temple of Devatma Himalaya can be seen here along with 5 Prayags, 5 Kashis, 5 sacred rivers, 5 sacred lakes, as well as the respective places of tapasya of the rishis. This is thus a unique temple. Those who cannot have visited the difficult regions of the higher Himalayas can have the satisfaction of having a view of Devatma Himalaya in miniature at Shantikunj. Jamdagni's son, Parashuram, had beheaded several tyrants by his battle axe. This can't be taken as a symbolic description also. He had performed tapascharya in Yamnotri and had started a campaign for creative transformation. He destroyed evil tendencies of persons who were engrossed in immorality and were acting as impediments in the transformation of the society. He was engaged in the heroic task of rooting out viciousness and corruption prevalent in the minds of the people of his time. For this, Bhagavan Shiva gifted him a parashu, or a battle axe. In his latter half of life, he had discarded the axe and had taken a spade in his hands, which outwardly was a symbolic of tree plantation, but actually meant sowing seeds of righteousness and creativity. The written and spoken words emanating from Shantikunj have played the role of Parashu in radically transforming the beliefs, feelings, thoughts, and activities of innumerable persons. Bhagirath had performed rigorous tapascharya to bring the Ganga from heavens to earth for removing water scarcity. Bhagirath Shila is situated near Gangotri. Ganga descended as a result of his tapascharya and heroic industriousness, and was therefore named as Bhagirathi. Bhagirath was put through a tough test. He successfully passed the test and earned the grace of Bhagavan Shiva. Today, there is an all-pervading famine of faith, which can only be removed by Gyan Ganga, the divine flow of knowledge. The present famine in the realms of feelings and thoughts can be removed by the cleansing stream of knowledge, which is flowing constantly from Shantikunj, and it is hoped that goodwill and righteousness will soon be established throughout the world. Charak Rishi had undertaken thorough research of the inaccessible region of Kedarnath in the Himalayas to find out rare medicinal herbs which helped in healing. It is described in the scripture that Charak Rishi used to have conversations with such herbs and inquired from them about their healing characteristics and qualities. He used to collect them at the appropriate time and conducted research on them. Several medicines which help in the growth of the life forces, in pacifying emotions and mental derangements, which possess the qualities of bringing about positive changes in attitudes, actions, and nature of man, are contributions of his research. Ancient Ayurveda has been revived here, and research on finding out rare medicines and testing their ingredients' qualities with the help of modern scientific equipments is being done at Shantikunj. How the use of only one appropriate medicine at a time can promote longevity is one of the researches which are being conducted here in accordance with Rishi traditions of Charak. Maharshi Vyas had written Puranas with the help of Ganesh in Vyas cave near Vasudhara waterfall between the mountain ranges known as Nar and Narayan in Badrinath. Seclusion and important work in the present circumstances when there is great dearth of good and inspiring literature. The founder of Shantikunj had about 25 years back written documentaries on 4 Vedas, 18 Puranas, 108 Upanishads, 6 Darshans, 24 Gitas, Aranyaks, Brahmanas, etc., and had made them easily available to all at modest prices. Appropriate literature, with a view to providing practical solutions to the forbidding problems of the present day life, is also being continuously written, and it has influenced the hearts and minds of millions of people. The series of Pragya Puranas are a novel creation, in which the philosophy of Upanishads has been explained in simple, easily understandable style through the medium of tales and stories. Patanjali had conducted several researches and experiments on the science of yoga at Rudraprayag, in the confluence of Alaknanda and Mandakini. He proved that human body was a storehouse of energy. If the centers of energy within the body could be awakened, a man can be transformed into a divinized person, and he can acquire immense spiritual powers, riddhis and siddhis. In Shantikunj, the sadhaks are imparted training in Hatha Yoga, Kayakalpa, asanas, and pranayam. They are examined mentally and physically by a team of qualified doctors and experts with the help of sophisticated scientific instruments and are advised and guided about the sadhana which they have to perform. Yagyavalkya had undertaken research on yagya at Triyugi Narayan, had verified its efficacy in promoting the health of living beings and vegetation, in purification of the environment, introducing rainfall, etc. There is a Yagya Kund, or hearth, in an accessible place in the Himalayas, in which fire has been burning interruptedly uninterruptedly since times immemorial. It is said that it is a glow since the marriage of Shiv Parvati, and is a symbol of the ancient tradition of fire. The Brahma Virtuous Research Institute has undertaken the responsibility of conducting research on the scientific science of yagya, which has become almost extinct these days. A full-fledged laboratory, duly equipped with modern scientific instruments, is functioning in the campus of this institute for conducting researches on Yagyopati, and people are wonderstruck to see its amazing positive impact on the environment. Pollution and treatment of physical and mental ailments, growth of vitality, rainfall of vital parjanya, and etc. Vishwamitra is regarded as the seer of Gayatri Mantra, a creator of a new world. Saptarishis, including Vishwamitra, had in the ancient times performed tapascharya, and on the sanctified land on which at present Shantikunj campus stands, and had attained the grace of Adya Shakti Gayatri. I was inspired by Gurudev to build an ashram at this very land. The subtle vibrations of creative sadhana of Vishwamitra are still intensely active here. Mahapragya has been given the status of Yug Shakti here, and by installing idols of its 24 primary emanations, the message of Adya Shakti, primordial creative power, of Vasudhaiva, Kutumbakam, and of steadfast and pure wisdom and righteousness was proclaimed from here. Several sadhaks have performed Gayatri Anushtans and have grown spiritually. The Vishwamitra tradition is being revived here by conducting research about the power of sound and the technique of Savitri. All-round training to Vanprasthis was given in the ancient times in Gurukul Aranyak of Jamandagni, which was located at Uttarkashi. Facilities were provided for training of wise, mature, and aspiring persons in the performance of sadhana and penance. In Shantikunj, arrangements have been made to impart training to Parivrajak, Vanprashtis, and public service workers. Children are imparted training in moral education in this ashram's Gurukul Vidyalaya, and all-round training is being given to sadhaks in Yug Shilpi Vidyalaya. Devarsi Narada had performed tapascharya in Guptkushi. He used to play veena and was constantly engaged in the work of public awakening. He used to give righteous guidance to the people by arousing their positive emotions and tendencies. Yug Nirma Music Training School of Shantikunj has trained thousands of parivrajaks who undertake tours in their regions and move in a group in jeeps in furtherance of Nara tradition. Vasishtha had preached Yog Vasishtha to Ram at Devprayag. He integrated religion with statecraft. The founder of Shantikunj had participated in the independence movement from 1930 to 1947 and had undergone torture in jails. Later, the society was guided by him through the medium of books, literature, and everything which could be possibly was done for the integration of spirituality and polity. Adya Shankaracharya had performed tapascharya at Jyotirmath and had established four dhams, spiritual centers, in four corners of the country. His object was to integrate different cultures and to awaken people through religious institutions. This work of spreading youth Chitna is now being conducted by Shantikunj through the networks of Gayatri Shakti Pitas, Pragya Sanstans, Swadhyaya Mandals, and etc., which have been established throughout the country in the tradition of Adya Shankaracharya. Rishi Piplada had conducted research near Rishikesh on the effect of food on mind. He maintained himself on the fruits of pipal tree and attained self-realization by exercising restraint and self-control. I strictly restricted myself to a diet of barley bread and buttermilk for 24 years, while performing Gayatri Anushtans. Even thereafter, I have been living on boiled food, grains, and vegetables. Amritasan experiments are being conducted in Shantikunj in this respect. Sud Shunik rishis are used to hold sessions of discourses at Rishikesh by narrating ancient tales relating to the scriptures. The discourses of Pragya Purana in the present times have become so popular that people call it Yug Purana. 4 volumes of Pragya Purana have already been published, and subsequent volumes are planned to be published in due course. Harshvardhan had donated all his wealth at the time of Sarvamed Yagya which was performed at Hariki Puri, Haridwar. The founder of Shanti Kunj too had donated all his property for the construction of Gayatri Tapobhumi at Madura and a high school in the village of his birthplace, and kept nothing for himself or his family members. This tradition is now being followed by other workers who are permanently linked with Shantikunj. Kannada Rishi had conducted research about nuclear science and scientific aspect of spirituality according to the research traditions of Atharva Veda. The intelligentsia today can be convinced not by words but by logic, facts, figures, and evidence. In Brahmavarchas Research Institute, research is being conducted for integration of science and spirituality, and the world is eagerly awaiting its results. The Parivrajaks of Buddha had undertaken extensive tours to spread the message of Dharma, or religion, throughout the world. In Shantikunj, Parivrajaks are being trained for specific purposes in spreading the message of divine culture throughout the world. In India itself, about 1 lakh Pragyaputras are engaged in this work of spreading Yug Chetna from house to house. Aryabhata was a great scientist who conducted astronomical researches to examine the influence of other planets of the solar system on the Earth, its atmosphere, and living beings. An observatory has been set up in Gayatri Nagar, astronomical researches are being conducted, and an almanac based on Drishya arithmetic is being published from here. The spiritual teachings of the saints of the Middle Ages, viz. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sant Gyaneshwar, Samarth Guru Ramdas, Pranat Mahaprabhu, Ramkrishna Paramhansa, and in regard to the spread of righteousness are being followed in Shantikunj. It is most important to stress that the atmosphere of this ashram is so surcharged with piety and righteousness that it automatically attracts people towards spirituality. This is due to the presence here of rishis in their astral forms. They must definitely be quite happy to see revival of their ancient traditions here. This earth has been blessed by the tapascharya performed here by the rishis. Lav Kush were brought up and trained in Valmiki Ashram, Bharat, in Kandva Ashram. Rukmini performed tapascharya in Badrinarayan and gave birth to Pradyumna, who in valor and wisdom was equal to his father, Sri Krishna. Pavan and Anjani gave birth to Bajrangabali in the ashram of Pusha. These are miraculous boons of tapascharya sadhana performed in this holy region of the Himalayas. There are several instances of advantages occurring to faith-filled persons from contacts with saints and by visiting holy places. A drop of water of Swati Nakshatra falling in an oyster shell becomes pearl. It becomes Vansalokon when it falls on a bamboo tree and camphor when it falls on a plantain tree. A piece of iron, when it touches paras, becomes gold. My guide Gurudev had been living since several centuries in his astral body at Nandanvan in the Himalayas, which is known as Heaven of the Earth, the gateway of which is Haridwar, wherein Shantikunj is situated. He summoned me to the Himalayas from time to time to recharge my spiritual battery, whenever I was to be entrusted with new responsibility. I always experienced having returned from the Himalayas with an immensely augmented store of energy. I often invited awakened souls, Pragyaputras, to Shantikunj to undergo training or perform sadhana to acquire competence to play the role akin to the bears and monkeys of Treta Yug, of Gwalbals of Dwapar Yug, in the tasks of ushering in the new golden era. This place has its own significance on account of divine patronage. Persons residing here, even for a short time, feel that they are being rejuvenated. In fact, it is a spiritual sanatorium. The Grit lamp, which has been alight for the last 60 years, performance of Yagya for 2 hours daily in the morning, and Gayatri Mahapurusha Charanas in both the Navratris, daily jap by sadhaks in this sadhana aranyak, all combine to create a sanctified divine environment here, as one finds in Malyagiri by the sweet smell of sandalwood. Even without doing sadhana, a person feels unalloyed joy, as if his entire time here has been spent in tapascharya and sadhana. Shanti Kunj Gayatri Tirtha is a sacred Siddhapita because the rishis in their astral bodies are present here, overseeing the various kinds of activities being carried on here pertaining to their particular traditions. The most important work of my life has been to make direct and indirect, visible and invisible efforts to change the present milieu. These days, there is intense crisis of faith. People are bent upon breaking all principles of propriety, morality, and conduct. This has resulted in the growth of evil conduct and licentiousness in the society. Problems, calamities, horrors are increasing day by day. The efforts to stem this overwhelming tide of unrighteousness are not succeeding anywhere. The remedy lies only in the refinement of the minds and emotions of the masses and inspiring growth of righteous tendencies. This has to be done directly by constructive, reformative work, and indirectly by invisible spiritual influence. This is being done, and the entire energy is being mobilized to attain this objective. The results attained so far are encouraging, and the results visualized in future will be unprecedented. In short, Rishi traditions have been adopted and revived by a Brahmana mind in all earnestness. Persons who are engaged in such a work not only do good to themselves, but also promote the welfare of others. End of chapter 9. Jai Gurudev.